The notice of meeting, either sent or made available to shareholders in April, includes an explanation for each of the resolutions being proposed today. I hope you've had a full opportunity to consider the resolutions and how you wish to cast your vote in respect of each of them. With your permission, I will take the notice of meeting as read. Perhaps I should draw your attention to a number of specific items of business. First of all, in Resolution 1, the directors are proposing to receive and consider the annual report for the financial year ended 31st December 2018. Secondly, Resolution 2 is proposed to approve the directors' remuneration report, which is contained in the annual report. This resolution this year is advisory only and is a means for the shareholders to provide feedback to the board. In relation to Resolution 3, the directors are recommending a final dividend for the year ended 31st December 2018 of 20.75 pence per share, as was set out in the report and accounts. The dividend is payable on the 30th of May to ordinary shareholders whose names were on the register of members at the close of business on the 12th of April. Now, with Andy Briggs stepping down for the board, Resolution 6 in the notice of meeting to re-elect him as a director will be withdrawn, and this resolution will not be put to the vote at this meeting today. Now, I know shareholders have raised concerns in the past about the company seeking authority in relation to political donations, which is dealt with in Resolution 15. Again, I think it's important to be clear that it is not the company's policy to make political donations or incur political expenditure, and it has no intention of doing so. The purpose of Resolution 15 is therefore to ensure that the company does not take any action which may inadvertently breach the Companies Act. But just to be clear again, the company will not make political donations within the normal meaning of that expression. Resolutions 17, 18 and 20 to 24 inclusive are being proposed as special resolutions. Resolutions 17 and 18 relate to the disapplication of preemption rights and seek authority in line with the guidelines to give the board maximum flexibility in order to raise capital. We do not have any intention of exercising this authority. In relation to Resolutions 18 and 19, shareholders will recall that in 2018 we requested shareholder approval for the company to issue Solvency II instruments to support the future capital management of the company, should it be necessary. This authority expires at the end of this AGM, and the board is seeking renewed authority to allow the company to have this flexibility. The board believes it is prudent to have these authorities in place, although there is no intention of exercising them in relation to any class of shares. Now, in respect of the resolutions to be put to the meeting, as noted in the notice of meeting and in line with best practice, I'm exercising the authority contained in the company's Articles of Association to call for a poll to be taken on each of the resolutions. Any shareholder, proxy or corporate representative who is entitled to vote will have been given a white poll card at registration. We have again included a vote withheld option on the poll card for those shareholders who wish to abstain from voting on a particular resolution. However, I'm duty bound to remind you that a vote withheld entry is not a vote in law and will not be counted for in the calculation of the votes for or against a relevant resolution. If you've already submitted your votes prior to the meeting by proxy and don't wish to change the way in which you've voted, there's no need to complete a poll card. If there's anyone present who's entitled to vote but does not have a poll card, please could you raise your hand and the marshal will pass you a card. Does anyone need a poll card? Just one at the back there, if you could, please. As I've said, I don't intend to read every resolution, you'll be glad to hear, but I do propose formally that each resolution set out in the notice of meeting and listed on the poll card, other than Resolution 10, which relates to my own re-election, be put to the meeting as a separate resolution, and that resolutions 17, 18 and 20 to 24 inclusive be put to the meeting as special resolutions. Now, resolution 10 concerns my own re-election as a director. Glyn Barker, the Senior Independent Director, will now formally propose that resolution, and I invite Glyn to propose my re-election as a director. So.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon. Sir Adrian is an experienced chairman with strong leadership skills. Throughout the year, he's led the board's discussions on corporate culture, strategy, and succession planning. And as you heard at the beginning of this meeting, he is a keen supporter of the Aviva Community Fund. He took on the role of executive chairman on the 8th of October 2018 during the search for and transition period to a new group chief executive. And the board is particularly grateful for his efforts and hard work during that period, where he showed strong leadership and brought stability at a challenging time. Following Morris's appointment on the 4th of March 2019, Sir Adrian reverted to the role of non-executive chairman. His performance during 2018 was evaluated by the non-executive directors, and the board concluded that Sir Adrian continues to provide strong leadership, demonstrates full commitment to the role, and contributes most effectively to the deliberations of the board. I'm therefore very pleased to propose Resolution 10 to re-elect Sir Adrian Montague as a director of the company.
Thank you so much, Glyn. Thank you very much. Please, would you now therefore complete the white poll card to register the way in which you wish to cast your votes on each separate resolution by putting a cross in one of the boxes marked for, against, or vote withheld. Let me just remind you, though, it's just ordinary shareholders who have the right to vote at this meeting. So please ensure that you have filled in your full name and address, or the full name and address of the shareholder you represent if you are attending as a proxy or corporate representative. Once completed and signed, the poll card should be placed in one of the black boxes marked poll cards immediately outside the auditorium as you leave. And those shareholders who cannot attend today have been voting on the resolutions, and the indicative results of those votes submitted by proxy will be shown on the screen shortly. The final results of voting will be announced to the London Stock Exchange and posted on the company's website as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I think I can now conclude today's meeting formally. I'd like you to thank you so much for attending, and I would remind you to, once again, to place those poll cards in the marked boxes outside the auditorium.